Hello, I'm Floyd Stokes, your AJ2 Introduction to Law Enforcement instructor at College of the Redwoods. These series of PowerPoint videos are meant to give you an overview of each chapter of the text. However, you still will need to thoroughly read each chapter. Today I'm going to discuss Chapter 12, Deviance, Ethics, and Professionalism. This chapter has three learning objectives. 1. Discuss how various commissions established to examine police conduct in the United States have uncovered deviance. 2. Identify several typologies of police deviance that scholars have proposed. And 3. Discuss explanations for police deviance, its incidents, and methods of controlling it. All right, let's get started. Varying degrees of deviance and corruption have characterized societies everywhere and are certainly not new. And police corruption and brutality were no exceptions, appearing at the very onset of American criminal justice history. Historians have remarked that not only did early urban police protect the criminal element, but they practically encouraged crime, permitting gamblers, prostitutes, and saloon keepers to do business under well-understood conditions, which included making regular payoffs to the police. As patterns of misconduct were being revealed and policing entered the professional era, accounts of police deviance became even more commonplace. This was partly due to the work of various crime commissions. The first of these to tackle the issue of improper police conduct was the 1929 Wickersham Commission, which was established by President Herbert Hoover and headed by former Attorney General George Wickersham to deal with the proliferation of organized crime after the 1920 enactment of Prohibition. In a blistering critique of police corruption around the country, the authors of the Wickersham Commission report found that the third degree, or the inflicting of pain, physical or mental, to extract confessions or statements was extensively practiced across the country. Perhaps the most publicized scandal in the past 30 years, and the one with the farthest reaching impact, was the Knapp Commission investigation of the New York City Police Department after exposure of corruption by Patrolman Frank Serpico. By televising its hearings, the Commission focused national and international attention on the widespread and highly organized corruption it uncovered, corruption that reached into the upper ranks and was commonly accepted by police officers. It also revealed how the traditional distinction between clean and dirty money had become blurred in practice with the introduction of the buying, selling, and stealing of narcotics. Finally, the Knapp Commission introduced the memorable terms grass eaters and meat eaters to describe officers who respectively simply accepted whatever corrupt money came their way and those who actively sought out corruption opportunities. These Knapp Commission terms have since been expanded to include other types of police behaviors, including white knights or honest and upstanding officers who never step over the line between accepted and deviant conduct, no matter how great the pressure, and straight shooters who for the most part are honest but will overlook some of the misconduct by their peers. Finally, the term rogues describes the most seriously deviant officers, including those who worked as hitmen for the mob, killing rival gangsters, if you can believe that. In response to the 1991 Rodney King incident, Mayor Tom Bradley of Los Angeles assembled a commission to conduct an internal investigation into the infrastructure and ethos of the LAPD. Warren Christopher chaired the independent commission on the LAPD, thus the Christopher Commission evolved as the name of the report. At the same time, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, known as the LASD, was experiencing similar difficulties with the chronic incidents of excessive force, followed by citizen complaints. Sheriff Sherman Block of Los Angeles County responded to the events surrounding his own deputies, the King incident, and the formation of the Christopher Commission by creating an internal commission to examine the operations of the LASD. Block named Judge James G. Colts to act as chair and special counsel on this internal commission. Together, these commission reports painted a grim picture of pervasive tolerance by both the LAPD and the LASD of chronic misconduct by a core group of officers. In 1993, another large-scale corruption case was revealed in New York City by the Mullen Commission. The commission's star witness, police officer Michael Dowd, testified how his so-called Losers Club of rogue police officers extorted protection money from drug dealers and sold stolen cocaine to suburban Long Island teenagers. Dowd further testified that beating up drug dealer suspects in the presence of other officers became a test of officers' tolerance for future acts of corruption. Dowd testified, quote, "You kick some punk down the stairs in front of 10 cops and you have 10 friends. Young officers tested one another. How much bad could you be entrusted to see before you ratted on another cop?" Unquote. The Mullen Commission found that police officers who engaged in the most egregious corruption, such as pocketing drug money, had started out by abusing and beating defendants. Experience has shown that once minor offenses have been committed, officers are more likely to graduate up to more serious offenses. The Wickersham and Knapp crime commissions uncovered several varieties of police deviance. Since then, still other corrupt and deviant practices have come to light. 4 types of police deviance are described on pages 185 and 186 of the text. Police crime, which is an officer's use of the official powers of his or her job to engage in criminal conduct. Examples would be entering private property with no legitimate reason, unjustifiable homicide. Occupational deviance, which is behavior performed under the guise of police authority that either does not conform to accepted standards of conduct or is not part of normal patrol work. Examples of this would be committing theft from the evidence locker to helping a friend get a speeding ticket removed from his or her driving record. Police corruption, which is the misuse of police authority for personal or organizational gain. An example of this would be skimming drugs from big busts. And abuse of authority, which is a catch-all category for various forms of inappropriate police conduct that do not necessarily amount to crime, deviance, or corruption. Examples of this would be excessive force or psychological abuse of citizens. Some researchers have been content to use the term corruption to refer to all manner of police misconduct. However, one author, Maurice Punch, identifies 4 categories of behavior that he considers to be corruption. Straightforward corruption, which is any form of police misconduct that provides direct financial benefit to police officers. Predatory corruption, which is a form of police corruption that consists of more than just passive participation. For example, looking the other way while a fellow police officer commits a crime. In predatory corruption, officers actively promote and engage in criminal and other wrongful activities. Combative corruption. This refers to making arrests, gaining convictions, and ensuring lengthy sentences at whatever the cost, and may be among the most common forms of police misconduct. Perversion of justice, a kind of police corruption that consists of serious actions by a police officer, such as lying under oath, which is perjury, intimidating a witness, and performing other activities that resemble combative corruption. The following are 8 examples of police misconduct related to money. Corruption of authority. This occurs when an officer agrees to accept free meals, discounts, and rewards by virtue of his or her position as a police officer. Kickbacks. These would be illegal payments for services performed. Opportunistic theft, a theft that occurs when an opportunity presents itself. Shakedowns consist of corrupt officers demanding money, goods, and other valuables from people in exchange for lenient treatment, protection, or some other illegitimate service. Basically, shakedowns are extortion. Protecting illegal activity. This would be the protection of illegal activities, and it's not unlike a shakedown in the sense that police receive money for their services. Here, though, instead of seeking payment for protection, they seek payment for turning a blind eye to criminal activity. Fixes occur when police officers fix a speeding ticket or other infraction or charge, that is, to remove it from someone's record. Crimes are among the most serious forms of misconduct, including burglary, robbery, rape, and murder. Internal payoffs refer to the sale, quote-unquote, of anything within a police department, from work assignments and time off to evidence and promotion. Two forms of serious police misconduct include police sexual violence and drug war corruption. Police sexual violence includes sexual misconduct, that's consensual sex on the job, sexual harassment, that's somewhere between consensual encounters and violent or non-consensual encounters, drug war corruption, which includes type 1 drug corruption, where an officer uses his or her position for personal gain, such as giving information to drug dealers about police investigations, or type 2 drug corruption, which would be the search for legitimate gain, such as false testimony, planted evidence, to ensure arrest or prosecution of a drug dealer. Another approach to classifying drug-related police corruption includes use corruption, economic corruption, police violence, and subjugation of defendants' rights, which is also called noble cause corruption. The meaning of these classifications are listed on page 191. There are two main theories of police deviance. One explains deviance in terms of the isolated behavior of individual officers, that's known as the classical theory, while the other attributes deviance to the influence of environmental factors that could affect all police officers. This is known as the positivist theory. The rotten apple theory attributes police deviance to a few individuals who should not have become police officers in the first place and whose propensity toward corruption was not recognized during the recruitment and hiring phases. Environmental factors. Some officers become deviant as a result of either a corrupt political environment or the socialization process. If a city or its police department shows a pattern of problem behavior, then it is understandable that some officers will fall victim to it. Cases of systemic or department-wide corruption are rare, especially these days. It is easier to conceive of a few officers working together and reinforcing one's behavior through graft and corruption than it is to conceive of a whole police department doing the same. Unfortunately, just as it is difficult to estimate the true extent of crime, in other words, the so-called dark figure of crime, it is also difficult to estimate the true prevalence of police deviance. In blind research studies, officers estimated that nearly 4 in 10 officers slept on duty or used excessive force, and more than 3 in 10 had sex on duty. Perhaps the best control for police deviance is to screen out applicants who are unfit for the job by conducting thorough background investigations. Methods of controlling police deviance include continued reinforcement of professional standards, which involves following the rules and upholding the law. One simple question to ask is referred to as the first page test. How would you feel if your action appeared on the first page or the front page of the newspaper? Codes of ethics. Professional associations that many officers are affiliated with, such as the Fraternal Order of Police, have codes of ethics. Consent decrees. To avoid drawn-out courtroom battles, police departments that find themselves subjected to misconduct investigations often enter into consent decrees with the federal government. This is a voluntary agreement that the police department in question will cease the improprieties of which it is suspected. U.S. police have experimented with a number of measures designed to prevent, detect, and punish corruption. Several of these have been identified as being particularly successful. including positive leadership. This is the situation where effective chiefs will show by example and support, as well as by their statements, that their anti-corruption policies are important to them. In departments with reputation for misconduct, new chiefs have found that it is important to take steps early in their administration, and that waiting too long may make it impossible to overcome the hostility that forceful anti-corruption methods will produce in those who subscribe to the code. Political influence. Politics intrudes upon police administration primarily when politicians ask that certain laws not be enforced, that violations of law be ignored, or that they be allowed to influence the assignment and promotion of police personnel. Since most U.S. police chiefs report to an elected official, it has proven impossible and perhaps undesirable to eliminate politics entirely. Nevertheless, chiefs successful in fighting corruption have observed that when external political influences dictate their decisions, they lose the confidence of their officers and the public, and they have made it clear that responsibility for managing their departments rests with them. Authority and responsibility. The Knapp Commission recommended that primary responsibility for all but the most serious corruption investigations be vested in the commands concerned rather than in headquarters. Thus, all members of the department, including first-line supervisors, have the duty to take action against corruption, and failure to do so results in disciplinary action against all officers in the chain of command. Policies and procedures. Effective anti-corruption policies are clear, unambiguous, and systematically disseminated to all members of the department. Careful planning results in a set of procedures that makes it clear which areas of action are handled by supervisors or command officers and which are handled by the Internal Affairs Unit. Internal Affairs Units. Most departments with more than 100 sworn personnel include an Internal Affairs or Inspection Unit in their organizational structure. The unit provides an ongoing effort to detect actual or potential problems of police misconduct and investigates the more serious cases. The unit generally reports to the chief or deputy chief. Its size is dictated by such factors as the size of the department, the number of complaints received, the number of cases handled, the actual responsibilities of the unit, and the nature of the department's misconduct problems. Field Associates programs. In these programs, selected recruits and veteran police officers are given special responsibility for covertly obtaining and reporting information on corruption or other misconduct. Although the program itself is well publicized internally, the identity of the Field Associates is kept secret. Such programs are particularly useful in departments where reporting of fellow officers has been rare and is considered an offense against, quote, the code, unquote, although the personnel of such departments can be expected to be most hostile toward them. Turning. Turning occurs when an officer who is discovered to be corrupt is promised immunity or some other inducement in exchange for collecting evidence against other corrupt officers. This may involve wearing a recording device. This is often proven to be an effective way of uncovering and prosecuting systemic corruption, although the ethics of encouraging an officer to continue in corrupt activities have been debated. Integrity testing. This consists of exercises such as leaving wallets full of cash in places where police officers will find them and waiting to see if the officers returned the found property. Department personnel may or may not be informed that such a program is being carried out. Although departments with corruption problems may find integrity testing worthwhile, both as an investigating device and as a deterrent, it is open to both ethical and legal charges of entrapment. To summarize this chapter, the Wickersham and Knapp commissions were credited with uncovering police deviance. Scholars have proposed several typologies of police deviance. Some focus on forms of corruption, while others focus on types of deviance. The rotten apple theory argues that deviance is the result of the corrupt activities of a few rogue officers. Environmental theory attributes deviance to peer pressure and other organizational factors. All right, before I close, be sure to read the case on page 196 that deals with a shooting by police officers of a couple in a Laguna Beach, California, a luxury oceanfront resort. And the question that is raised by this case is that of media bias. So take a look at this, and we'll see you in class.